Welcome, everyone. I am so excited to have you here for this explainer. Today, we're diving deep, and I mean really explaining in detail, the ultimate orientation for mastering social media analytics. If you've been searching for a way to just cut through all the noise and structure your approach to digital data, well, you're in exactly the right place. We're going to break down a foundational framework and map out the specific strategies step by step right here.
To ground this whole explainer, let's look at this quote. It's our concentrated blueprint for today, taken directly from our source material on strategic frameworks. It says, in this last module, the participants would learn why there is a need for social media analytics, how to identify goals of social media analytics, the influence of social media on businesses, and lastly, on the social media analytics process. See, this isn't just some basic outline. It's the exact jumping off point we're going to use to dive deep into the actual definitions and mechanics of these core concepts.
Okay, let's quickly run through our agenda. 1. The final module. 2. The need for analytics. 3. Influence on modern business. 4. Identifying analytics goals. 5. The analytics process. And 6. Applying the framework. Section 1. The final module. The culmination of the strategic framework.
We can actually deconstruct that single source sentence into 4 distinct foundational pillars. Notice how the text specifically positions this as the last module. That implies we're not just looking at an intro here, it's the highly anticipated culmination of a whole learning journey. These 4 elements, the need, the goals, the influence, and the process, they literally represent the final, crucial pieces you need to actually wield social media data effectively and confidently.
Moving on to Section 2, the need for analytics, understanding the why.
So, why is there a need for social media analytics in the first place? I mean, really think about it. Before we look at the mechanics of the framework, before we open a single spreadsheet or look at a single chart, we have to ask ourselves this. It's so tempting to just jump straight into the numbers, right? But understanding this foundational why is where the real value begins.
So, why do we need this data? Well, grasping this foundational need is the absolute prerequisite to any data crunching. Businesses need social media analytics to fill massive gaps in their knowledge. It tells us who our audience really is, what content actually resonates with them, and when they're most active. Look, if you don't understand this underlying necessity, any analytics process you build on top of it is just going to be fundamentally shaky. You've got to establish the need to give your future data analysis a true actionable purpose.
All right, Section 3, influence on modern business, the broader context.
What is the influence of social media on businesses? Take a second to just reflect on the immense weight and impact that social media carries for modern enterprises. It's absolutely massive. You simply can't analyze what you don't contextualize, which means we have to elevate our perspective way beyond simple metrics to understand the real business-level impact of these platforms. This really forces us out of that narrow view of just, looking at likes and shares. The direct influence of social media on businesses touches literally every corner of an organization. Are these platforms driving actual sales revenue? Are they shaping or protecting brand reputation during a PR crisis? Are they acting as primary customer service hubs where complaints get resolved in real time? Understanding this broader ecosystem is exactly what turns a basic data analyst into a highly strategic business asset.
Section 4, identifying analytics goals, defining the what.
Okay, so once you understand the underlying need and that broader business influence, you've got to shift gears and get highly specific. Identifying goals is the act of determining the specific, measurable targets of your analytics. It's that magic moment where abstract strategy becomes tangible direction. For instance, instead of just saying you want more reach, a specific goal might be increasing click-through rates on promotional posts by 15% this quarter, or maybe lowering customer response times to under an hour. Because if you don't know what you're aiming for, how will you know if your efforts are even working?
Now notice how the foundational why, our need, conceptually contrasts with the operational what, our specific goals. Concept 1 is the need, which is the abstract reason we're here. Concept 2 is the goals, which is the concrete target we're aiming to hit. Like, you might need analytics to understand your audience better, but your goal could be to boost engagement metrics among a really specific demographic over the next 30 days. Keeping these 2 concepts distinct is a total game changer for guiding learners from broad theory into incredibly sharp focus.
Section 5, the analytics process, the how of the framework. All right, this is where the rubber meets the road. After understanding the why, defining the what, and grasping the context, we finally reach the execution phase.
This involves learning about the actual social media analytics process itself. This is where you get your hands dirty with the methodology, scraping the raw engagement data, scrubbing it for inaccuracies, running it through analytical models to spot trends, and finally compiling it all into a compelling report that business leaders can actually understand and act on.
See how this entire concept builds logically as a cohesive journey? Step 1, learn the need and influence. Step 2, identify goals. Step 3, execute the analytics process. This isn't just some random list of topics thrown together, it's a highly sequential progression. You just can't execute step 3 effectively, running the reports and compiling the data, if you haven't mastered steps 1 and 2 by defining exactly what you're looking for and why it matters to the business in the first place.
Section 6. Applying the framework, bringing it all together.
When we bring it all together, these 4 elements perfectly combine to create a comprehensive strategic framework. The need acts as our why. The influence serves as the business context. Identifying goals stands in as the what. And finally, the process functions as the how. By breaking down that single sentence from our source, we've uncovered this beautifully structured blueprint for approaching digital data. And trust me, if you're missing any one of these pillars, your social media strategy is going to be incomplete.
To bring this full circle, I want to reiterate the very final phrase of our source material. And lastly, on the social media analytics process. Hands-on execution is the ultimate destination here. All the theory, the goal setting, the context, it all exists to serve the actual physical process of analyzing the data to generate actionable insights, because at the end of the day, that is where the true business value is unlocked. Which leaves us with a final challenge. We've spent this explainer explaining in detail the specific concepts you need to really master this domain. So now that you understand the underlying reasons for tracking data, the true business influence of these platforms, the power of measurable goals, and the mechanics of the analytical process, how will you apply this social media analytics process to your own strategic framework? Take these detailed insights, put them into action in your own work, and just watch how they transform your data strategy. Thanks so much for joining me today, and keep exploring.